festival is hosting a lot of Rolex laureates, and one of them is Sarah Toumi, who's joining us right now. Hey, Sarah.
Hello, good morning or good afternoon, everybody.
Hi, how are you?
Very good, and you? Thank you so much for having me.
We're doing great. We're excited to hear your talk. And Sarah is going to be speaking about the Great Green Wall Accelerated that is hosted by UNCCD. Then she will be speaking about the nature world wonder in Africa and improving people's livelihood and preserving ecosystems. Yeah, so please tell us about your project, about your work.
Thank you so much. As you said, I'm a Rolex laureate, and I have had this amazing chance to be part of the laureates for my work in Tunisia as an environmentalist. I started at a very young age fighting desertification in North Africa by setting value chains with communities, especially with women farmers, planting acacia trees and agroecological gardens in order to preserve ecosystems from desertification. Desertification is when it's not the desert itself, but when the desert comes into arable lands, into agricultural lands, lands where people are living and that are frightening them and pushing them to leave. And for the past 10 years, I've been working in Tunisia and planting more than 700,000 trees and working with hundreds of people on that mission. And today, I joined the UNCCD, the United Nations Convention to fight desertification. And my job is actually to set up the Great Green Wall Accelerator. And you will see in my presentation that this is actually very linked to what I've been done with my NGO, my social enterprise, for the past years. I'm going to share with you my presentation. So just, sorry, up, yeah. Great. So for those who don't know, what is the Great Green Wall about? The Great Green Wall is an African-led initiative that aims at restoring 100 million hectares of land by 2030. And it all started many years ago, actually in the head of some leaders, African leaders like Thomas Sankara, who was president of Burkina Faso in the 80s. And these people were thinking how the Sahel, the South, West Africa mainly, could fight the environmental threats, and especially desertification and water scarcity, in order to create development for their people. And this idea made his path, and in 2005, it became reality. The African Union decided to create the Great Green Wall Initiative, an initiative that will actually set up a 8,000 kilometer long project going from Senegal to Djibouti, so crossing Africa in the south of the Sahara, and creating actually a wall of trees that could help, that could actually stop the desertification process, and at the same time create opportunities for people. And actually this idea was revolutionary for that time. I mean, you know, in Europe and here in the US, we were not at that time in the 80s, in the 90s, even in the beginning of the 21st century, we are not really linking environmental issues and people issues, but they did it. And it all started by tree planting activities. And they planted many trees. But The problem was they realized there were so many challenges. First, of course, when you plant a tree in an arid area and you don't set up a proper irrigation system or management system, the trees are going to die. And they also discovered that there were so many opportunities, much more than growing the trees. There were opportunities on development of value chains, so creation of many jobs in the transformation of agricultural products, but also in supporting the main development of the areas, fighting the children labor, empowering women, helping people to set up and stay in their areas, in their regions, so they don't have to migrate to look for a better future. And also promoting peace between people, because they will not have to fight for natural resources anymore. And this led to actually, in the last 15 years, this led to quite a good impact. I mean, creation of more than 350,000 jobs, generation incomes for more than $90 million, more than 20 million trees planted, more than 10 million people trained. But it was not at answering the expectations of the project, which is actually to set up a development project in this area in 11 countries, 8,000 kilometer long project, which is huge. And all that, knowing that the Sahel is one of the biodiversity hotspots in the planet. The provisions for climate change say that the temperature will go up to 3 degrees, and even in some places to 6 degrees for the worst provisions. And in the same time, it's a place in the world where insecurity and migrations are very big issues. And this, of course, leads to instability, and it leads also to a very bad image of the area that leads for investors not to go in there, because there is so much risk. And that's why, so if you want to know more about what happened in the past in the Great Green Wall, I invite you to read the Great Green Wall Implementation Status and Way Ahead to 2030 report that was published last year in September 2020, and where you have all the data of the past 15 years of work that has been made to create this green wall. And now I'm going to tell you how we designed a new strategy for the coming years from now to 2030 in order to push, to accelerate the work, so it really becomes a natural world wonder, an African-led natural world wonder. As I said, this report was launched in September 2020, and the Ministries of Environment of the Great Green Wall countries advocated for more international support for the Great Green Wall, because one of the big challenges that was faced by the Great Green Wall countries was the fact that actually the actions were not coordinated enough. There was NGOs working on their side, there were companies working on their side, governments doing things, international financial institutions financing other things, and all these people were acting each one of theirs in their side and not talking together. And that's why it was decided to create the Great Green Wall Accelerator. The Great Green Wall Accelerator is hosted by UNCCD, and our goal, we are a team of several people, and our goal is not to replicate, it's not to create new things, it's just to organize, to create a dialogue, to coordinate efforts, so we can achieve our goals by 2030, which is actually to to restore and sustainably and set up a sustainable management of lands and water in 100 million hectares by the 11 countries, so from Senegal to Djibouti, going through Burkina Faso, Mali, Mauritania, Niger, Chad, Sudan, Ethiopia, Eritrea, so many countries, but also in the same time, looking how these restored lands can create jobs and sequestrate carbon and improve life of 300 million beneficiaries, which are actually the population of the Sahel. And so why we're doing that, it's how we are doing it. This all just started, but our main pillars of action is actually to track financial commitments and track that financial pledges are actually disbursed to projects, and also tracking implementation on the field to provide informations with data and scientifically based approach that things are going on the field, and that communities are doing the job. Because at the end, even if the Great Green Wall initiative will be a pride for humanity and a big answer for climate change's threats, because it will mitigate carbon, so it will have an impact for the whole planet. But what we want first, it is that it has an impact for people living in the Sahel. And so to be able to monitor this, we need to set up processes that are simple enough for people to do it, and at the same time complex enough for scientists to extract from this data study cases and knowledge for the other parts of the world to replicate the project. We are also providing technical advisors for the Great Green Wall partners, the countries, the NGOs, the companies, financial partners who are looking to get involved, to invest money in this kind of project that is in the same time investing in restoring ecosystems and in the same time investing in people's life improvements. And also, of course, we are helping to resource mobilization and communicating towards the public on this African-made solution for preserving biodiversity and also mitigating climate changes. So we have, as I said, a common approach, and we decided, as I said previously, the Great Green Wall in the beginning was about planting trees, but we discovered that it is not just about planting trees, it is actually improving people's life, because there's trees, they are of course providing oxygen, they are keeping the soils, they are improving soil's quality, they are giving food for people. So we decided to work on 5 pillars of action. Pillar 1 is about investment in small and medium-sized farms and strengthening of value chains, local markets, and organization of exportations. This is very important because, we will not be able to solve the environmental issues and biodiversity loss in the Sahel without promoting investments, without creating jobs for people. But at the same time, we have to be strong enough, bold enough to provide this message for investors and for companies and SMEs and industrials, that they have to work in a manner that they are improving ecosystem sustainability. And this is why we are promoting in our advocacy work toward private sector to invest more in agroecological value chains, in agroforestry, and in general in land and water sustainable management practices, but also in renewable energy use. two, is about land restoration and sustainable management of ecosystems. This is basically the environmentalist jobs. It's about supporting foresters, supporting conservationists, supporting NGOs and public actors who are working on supporting the preservation of biodiversity, restoring the soils, protecting the ecosystems. Pillar 3 is about climate resilience infrastructure and access to renewable energy. Because why is it important? It's because in the Sahel, there is a big pressure on natural resources, and mainly because people don't have access to energy. They don't have access to electricity. So they take what they found to cook, for example, and or to create energy. So they put a lot of pressure on existing trees, existing green cover, and by supporting the deployment of renewable energy in a place where sun is not a problem, we are actually diminishing the pressure on natural resources for people to live better. Pillar 4 is a very, very, very important pillar for us, and it is maybe the most difficult one to put in place. It's about creating a favorable economic and institutional framework for effective governance, sustainability, stability, and security. Because, the Sahel is facing many threats on the same time. We are in a hotspot for biodiversity. We are in a hotspot for climate change. We are in a hotspot where governance is very bad, very unstable political backgrounds. A hotspot for migration, because people don't find, especially youth, they don't find a proper opportunities to build their future, and unfortunately, most of them have to leave to find a work, to build their life, and this is why it's so important to provide a framework that makes people able to do the restoration work. Because if you have wars, if you have political instability, if you have no opportunity, the opportunities, financial opportunities, jobs, creation of companies that are not given to youth in these areas, so they have to leave, to migrate for a better future. Who will get the time and the chance to preserve ecosystems? No one, because people would have left, and for those who know the situation of people who are migrating because of lack of natural resources, lack of food, instability, lack of access to water, and they have then to be in camps and stay there for years and years and years with no future in front of them. It's not really the best option. The best option will be actually to invest for a proper framework, so that people can stay in their lands, can be the builders, the actors of land preservation. And finally, Pillar 5 is about capacity building, because, we are, in this audience, we are a lot of scientists and conservationists, environmentalists. We know about solutions, but these solutions have to go to communities at their level. They have to get access to the solutions and to adapt them so they can better coordinate efforts toward the preservation of biodiversity. So, as you can see, the Great Green Law is no more just about planting trees. It's about many things. It's about creating companies. It's about creating value chains. It's about improving agroecological and agroforestry practices. It's about restoring land, sustainably using water, improving access to renewable energy, setting a proper political framework, access to knowledge. It's a lot of things. And so our job was to actually design a framework that is allowing us to set up a scientifically based approach that allows us to follow up on the progresses of the actions of the Great Green Wall. So but for each pillar, we designed 4 indicators. And so we have actually 20 indicators that are all leading to 4 units of measure: lands of hectares of lands restored and sustainably managed, number of jobs created, number of tons of carbon sequestrated, and number of beneficiaries of the impact of the Great Green Wall. And our job now is to coordinate the efforts from these 20 indicators that will allow us as scientists and as coordinators to follow progresses of each partner. And who are the partners? There are governments, the 11 governments of the 11 countries of Great Green Wall. They are the institutions, international institutions, UN, World Bank, IFAD, etc. They are private sector, so all these companies that are investing their money in the region to grow mango, to grow cashew, to grow moringa, to grow Arabic gum, to grow shea butter, etc. All these companies need to be aware that they have to be bold enough to think about the sustainability of the resource they are actually working with. And for example, for shea butter or for Arabic gum, if we don't support communities to stay in their villages, in their regions, to grow projects that are involving in the same time environmental restoration and job creation, who will grow shea butter? Who will collect Arabic gum? And at the end, nobody. And at the end, all of us will be impacted. We will be impacted because, first, we'll no more find. We will fight to find shea butter in the when you buy your shea butter cream in the supermarket in the market, or when you want to eat a mango, or you want to anything coming from this region. I mean, will be very difficult to find, but also. We will, of course, be impacted because we will have missed a great opportunity to mitigate also climate change by supporting the creation of this big, huge natural world wonder composed of nature-based solutions that are actually sequestrating the carbon that is and solve the problem that we created with our economical activities worldwide. So the Great Green Wall, for all these reasons, is a very important issue, a very important project to follow up for any people who are concerned about by the link there is between biodiversity conservation, ecosystems conservation more broadly, and improving people's livelihood, because it is an example at scale of what we could be doing all over the planet if we really want to face the big environmental issues we are facing now all over the world, and we want to find solutions that are just good sense, solutions that are coming from communities, for communities, adapted to communities' ecosystem to solve this big issues. So this was my presentation. I hope if you have maybe some questions, I will be happy to answer it.
Oh, thank you very much, Sarah. That was a very moving talk. It's interesting to see how the project is growing, and it originated with one purpose, and now it has so many very important goals. The question is, how is your work within the Great Green Wall Accelerator helps you empower women?
Mm. Actually, the thing is, in Africa and especially in the Sahel, most of the workers in the agriculture are women, 80% to be exact. So when you provide investments in agri value chains and agroecological value chains, you automatically address women empowerment issues.
Does the local community support the work of the Great Green Wall? Do they react? Are they in the active dialogue, or are they sort of observing the amazing, massive amount of work that you are doing within your project?
You know, this is the main challenge. The Great Green Wall Initiative was initially created in the political level, and in the last 15 years, there have been a lot of work trying to go down to communities. And our main issue now is to communicate with much more communities than what has been done before, and to work directly with them so they can access directly to opportunities, especially financial opportunities and capacity building opportunities to grow, to do the job. But it's true that it is the biggest challenge.
I'm sure you and your fantastic team are able to overcome any challenges. And in the meantime, I would like to remind our fantastic audience that Sarah is the Rolex Program Laureate, and we're all curious to know how the Rolex program impacted your work.
Rolex believed in me in a time where most of the people thought I was just a crazy environmentalist who wanted just to go in the desert and start planting trees. And it was, for me, at a personal level, it was very important to get the support of the Rolex community, because they believed in me. They believed in this idea that we can connect environmental issues and environmental protection and improving people's life, and they helped me to combine other people, and especially thanks to the media coverage I got and the prize, I was able then to I achieved to even to advise the French President and other many big leaders in the planet on the issues of desertification and how we can solve it thanks to communities' involvement. So I'm very grateful for Rolex, and I always say that they are big. They always say that anyone can change everything, and I really believe in that. Anyone can change everything with courage and by being bold.
Wow. Wow. Well, thanks to the Rolex Award, you got the very needed support, and we all support you. And well, we wish you best of luck in all of your endeavors. And thank you very much
Thank you so
for
much.
your speech today. Thank you for being with us.